Before we begin, thank you very much to Joseph for rejoining the Patreon campaign over at patreon.com/TJOmega. It's a name that I'm pretty used to seeing pop in and out of my Patreon campaign, and you know what? That's fine. If you can't afford it some months, I have no problem with that. I tell people, don't contribute if you can't afford it. Take care of yourself first, then if you can help me out, please, then do it. Then I appreciate it very much. But you come before I do. And if you can't, that's what the like and subscribe buttons are for. That helps out the channel for free. I appreciate you hitting those too. So, Earthspark. We are up to episodes 7 and 8 in my particular recap series. And these are two very big world-building episodes. But one of them is actually kind of simple, and then the other one is anything but. And fortunately, we're going to go from simple to complex, and that starts with friends and family. Now, this is essentially a very down-to-earth episode at the start because we're dealing with Mo and Robbie stuff, which is their very first day in their new school. Going to be a very stressful time for just about anyone their age, much less ones that also are psychically bonded to two newborn Transformers who are also getting schooled. The big drama here to start off the episode is the bots not really understanding that these two they have things to do that they cannot be involved in. And there are going to be times where the humans and the Autobots, robots, Terrans, can't be together. They just have other responsibilities. They don't understand that. A lot of drama, a lot of confusion, a lot of stress and tension. So that's where we get the beginning of the episode. But despite all this being like major character building stuff, all of it is really just set up for what's really going on in the episode. So let's get to that, shall we? I'm going to kind of just go in linear order here because really there's only one plot line through the entire episode. So we can just kind of go in the same order that the show went in. The first day of school goes about the way you would think. The new classes, how you would expect kids in a cartoon to treat the newcomers. It comes and goes. What surprises me here is that we see so many original models in the class. They put an actual voice actor to the teacher who gets plenty of lines. I didn't see TFWiki didn't have a listing for the casting for him, so I don't know what voice actor it was. Doing a good job just being this over-the-top, super energetic teacher. And it's a music teacher, by the way, which is, I guess, what's allowing Mo and Robbie to be in the class at the same time. Otherwise, that is a little bit odd. But you know what? It's good. It's good. It all works. All it's really there to do is make the situation tense for them because it feeds back to Twitch and Thrash, just like everything does. And it is a confusing sensation for them where they are both nervous, embarrassed, and excited at the same time. Nothing that they really expect to ever experience. It gets so bad to the point where Bumblebee has to cancel the lesson for the day and go for a brand new lesson, which is Bumblebee's specialty, scouting. Specifically, scouting out the schools so the Terrans can get closer to their siblings again. This was a bad idea. So, there's actually two things going on in this episode, but we only get it hinted at early on. Now is when we start to realize what exactly is happening. The Terrans are glitching out, and we're not exactly sure why at this stage. It starts simple enough. Twitch has some trouble transforming on command, and then starts to lose control of her flight, which causes Mo to lose control of herself. And this also goes for Robbie too. When Thrash gets frustrated and angry, he openly blurts out something in class. So now we've learned that if the Terrans are erratic, if there's something wrong with the Terrans, it amplifies the connection to the point where they don't just feel each other, they influence each other. Or they could even take control of each other by accident. that adds a completely new wrinkle to this. And this is something that we kind of do this in cartoons from time to time. When characters share links, they share things like this. We saw it in Beast Wars with temporarily with Black Arachnia and Tarantulas. And we saw it, if you want to go all the way back to the 80s and a completely different Hasbro property, Zaymot and Tomax from G.I. Joe were like this, where if one gets hurt, the other one feels it. It's a huge weakness for the characters. Tactically, it's a huge weakness. And I think because they are emotionally bonded even more so, this kind of shows the problem. This kind of shows where how extreme that can get. Twitch vanishes. Thrash is barely able to stand up and keep going. So at this point, Bumblebee's on this, and he's wise to it. He's got a scanner on him that is actually showing Thrash to have critically low energon, lower than he's ever seen. So we get we get the flex tape version of energon here, where Bumblebee just like literally slaps a patch on him to fix him up. Does nothing. Here is a Transformer that gets a fresh energon infusion and is still super weak and like zombified. And it's weird. Like now, okay, we already had it in our heads that because they were born on Earth, Twitch and Thrash are different from any other Transformer we've ever seen. But that still doesn't really register because they're acting like Transformers. And more to the point, they are acting like good, friendly Transformers. They're heroic Transformers. So we would, it's easy to just mistake them for Autobots, especially since it's the Autobots who are training them. But this is the first real indication that they work completely differently from any other Cybertronian. And that's fascinating right off the bat. Once again, the show's doing things I have not seen in Transformers before. Energon is a fuel source. It's a plot point that I kind of wish they would go back to. Drop all of this, drop anything involving the Allspark being the MacGuffin of the series. Let's just get back to Energon, because Energon can be had from any energy source. So there's a lot more variety in what you can do with it as opposed to the Allspark, which is just one object everyone's trying to find. But this is a completely different take on Energon. Here we have Autobots who don't run on the stuff. But when they are super low on whatever they do run on, this is the kind of stuff that happens. And this was terrifying. This is absolutely horrifying. But it's a fake out. Obviously, it's a fake out. What they're trying to do is bash into an underground cavern, which actually looks similar to the original one. Same kind of green water pooled up and everything. And somehow, this recharges them completely. And even though they're fully recharged and they're acting like themselves again, hyperactive versions of themselves, Bumblebee scans them again and still gets next to no energon. What are these robots? The conclusion was that they were fueled up on water, but it is even brought up in the episode, why did they need to come here to get it? Why didn't they just get water from the farm? There's plenty of it there. Why did they have to come get this special green water? No clue. No clue whatsoever, and we don't really get an explanation. I half expected Bumblebee to just pull out some kind of siphon and just take a sample or something for a Wheeljack, but he doesn't come across that. He just goes, I guess they fuel up on water instead of energon. Funny they needed this water and not the normal water. Oh well, let's leave. It's a pretty big plot point to not have anyone follow up on. Now granted, Bumblebee's not the scientific type. I guess he's not the type who would think of that. But it's still odd, at the least help figure out why they were so low on energy and avoid it in the future. We end off on one other shot, though, that's actually kind of cryptic. So this is Ancient Cybertronian, and it is translatable. If I can pull it up really quick. It's not really a spoiler, but it does come up again in a few episodes. It reads, "In times of need, help shall rise to your call. and the insignia is for Quintus Prime, who will make their presence felt in episode 10. But for now, it's just a super cryptic thing on the wall that, again, someone probably should have taken a picture of or something. But yeah, so it's a quaint little episode. It's a fascinating episode because it is all about how Twitch and Thrash work, which is completely opposite of anything we've seen with a Transformer before, which just adds to their intrigue and just how different this show can be. Super interesting to me. I don't know about you, but I love to see stuff like this. So that's a rather simple episode with major implications in world building. What about the follow-up? This is Decoy. And this episode does have 2 ongoing plots that we can talk about. So we're going to focus one, focus other, and then talk about how they come together and what happens. The biggest thing in this episode is the tension between Optimus and Megatron, having dispute over exactly how the Decepticons are being treated and the involvement of Ghost in all of this. Optimus isn't happy with Ghost in the first place. It's the only organization they had that had the resources and supplies in order to provide what the Autobots needed to contain rogue Decepticons who didn't want to follow the ceasefire. And Megatron is really not happy with the treatment. He doesn't, he wanted freedom for his Decepticons, which, if we're going by, like, if there's IDW traces of IDW traces of Megatron in this show, and obviously by design, literally by Megatron's design, there is. If we're to believe that, then yeah, like, freedom is what originally inspired the Decepticon cause in the first place, even if it went sideways. So to bring that back up, and again, like, there's a viewpoint for each of them. I mean, Megatron obviously a lot closer, but I'm still the mindset of, you gotta do something with them. Like, if these are rogue Decepticons who are just out causing mayhem and just running roughshod on Earth, despite the fact that the war is over and Megatron ordered them to stand down, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You can't just let them do it. So I mean, at the same, I get it, but I also don't get it. But this spat kind of came up because they are dealing with cassette bots, which are actually named cassette bots, not cassette cons or anything, cassette bots in this episode. And the main voice behind this is technically a new one. This is Frenzy, or at least the Earthspark version of Frenzy, who you'll notice is not red or blue. They are a combination of the color. She is purple, and it is a she. We have a female cassette bot, which, hey, there's not too many of them, so nice to see we've got another one in the mix. And yeah, I really like this, like, punk rock girl Frenzy design. Super cool and appropriate. The electric guitar weapon's cool too. I'm actually surprised at how much of a menace they made the 3 standard cassettes. Frenzy, Laserbeak, and Ravage are actually able to kind of stand their own against Optimus Prime and Megatron, partially because Megatron's pulling his punches, and partially because they're just being super obnoxious. They're borrowing powers from Soundwave to be a little bit more threatening here. You can see them using sonic attacks in this shot. And it does make them a little bit more interesting, and it does make them a much tougher element than they would typically be. So in this episode, they're trying to steal an ID card, and Megatron just calls it a innocent prank, which is why he's upset with Optimus going full force against them. Oh, they mean no harm. They couldn't hurt anybody. They're just like little cassette bots. Not a big deal. Like, they don't really examine why they're after a Ghost's ID card, but whatever. And Megatron really takes issues with these restraining bolts that force them into their alt mode. Really takes issues with it, and understandable. It's one thing to capture them. It's another thing to imprison them in one of their modes. That is not cool. And yeah, that feels a little bit too much, I think. That takes it a little bit too far. So there's where I can kind of side with Megatron a little bit on this one. That'll come to a head too. But if we're gonna deal with cassette bots, then we gotta talk Soundwave, and oh boy. So I'll tell you this, I'm already loving this iteration of Soundwave. So he's kind of an amalgamation of a lot of Soundwaves we've gotten in the past. He is not he's monotone, he's got the vocoder effect going, but he doesn't have that, cold that super cold, logical side to him. Like, he has personality, he has a deep anger for what Megatron has been doing. He has a lot more to him than the G1 version did. You know what else he has? He has a cool stealth bomber mode that reminds me of the Cybertron Soundwave. Maybe, okay, it's a different take on it, but it's a stealth wing. Looks super cool. And being a spy character, stealth airship definitely works. I think people have taken a bit of an issue with the design in that, my biggest grief, and it's a minor one, is how wide his hips are, how hourglass figure he is. That's a little bit strange to me. I don't mind that the chest is not a window, and really, I don't even mind that the mouth plate isn't silver. You need to change it up once in a while, and it's not a bad change. If anything, it makes his eyes far more prominent against the blue. Oh, and they use those eyes too. When I say he's an amalgamation of Soundwaves that I've seen in the past, what I love about this one is that he threw out Prime Soundwave's trick of playing Megatron's voice back at him. Oh, that was good. Oh, it started a fist fight too. Here's something I never thought I would ever see in Transformers. Megatron and Soundwave throwing fists at each other. Soundwave is he is supposed to be the most loyal of Decepticons. But in this version, he is not loyal to Megatron. He's loyal to the Decepticon cause. He's not ready to surrender. And to the point where he will actually fight his former leader. That's different. Again, that's something I don't see. Even in IDW, when he became an Autobot and Soundwave felt betrayed, eventually Soundwave came around too. And Soundwave actually became a friend of the Autobots. So even then they didn't come to blows. This is weird. This is super weird. Okay, so all of that is going on, and that's our big plot. But where's our side plot? The side plot of the episode, the B plot, is Bumblebee kind of getting tired with this teacher role. He wants back on the field. He wants an actual Autobot mission. So he saddles the Terrans with a substitute teacher for the day. RC. Now, I'm going to say it here. I said it on Twitter, and I mean it, and I love it. This is the first time we've gotten a G1 style RC with an Earth mode. They've all been Cybertronian vehicles in G1, in animated, and then anytime she had an Earth mode, it was a different style of RC. It was like Prime RC, where she's a blue motorcycle, things like that. So actually getting to see her in an actual Earth car, I think is super cool. And it's like an old school, Cadillac type car. It's actually a really interesting choice for her. It separates her a lot from Elita 1, too. I'm happy both are in the show. I'm happy they're not recolors of each other. And, yeah, she's interesting. So she does have this... She has this teaching style of, I'm teaching you a lesson without telling you I'm teaching you a lesson. I'm just going to tell you when you pass. Which also is that kind of teaching that comes across as oh, I was doing something bad. Oh, that was wrong of me. You passed. I was just testing you. But it does come off as sincere in her case. It doesn't seem to come off as trying to catch herself. She has a really good fight scene with Soundwave, by the way, too. RC can throw down in this one. So, let's see, what else? So, oh god, this part. There's one thing I thought was annoying about this one. So eventually the human cast ends up, When RC finds out that there's a mission going on, she just drags the Terrans and the kids with her. Lesson on the road now. Not the smartest of idea, but it does put Twitch and Thrash in their very first actual mission against Decepticons, so we can actually see how they're handling. And the cassette bots are a good entry-level opponent for them, so not a bad choice here. They defeat this Soundwave-style sonic attack by singing. Earlier in the episode, the kids dumbed down the lesson of the day into a catchy song, and that song was apparently so catchy the Decepticons stopped assaulting them and gave themselves a wide opening for attack. So, I didn't like that. That felt a little contrived. I think it would be better if the song actually was catchy. It was not. It was not exactly. It was not exactly an earworm. Let's put it that way. But the lesson here ends with Bumblebee getting super defensive about his role with the Terrans again, and not really liking what RC did. Decides, okay, this is my mission. I need to take pride in it. I need to take it seriously. So no, back off. You're not doing any more teaching. And of course, RC goes, you pass. That one I don't think I believe as much as I believe the one with the kids. But whatever. It's a nice resolution. It's nice to see Bumblebee kind of more resolute in his mission with Optimus. And that all works out. But what of these two? So, uniting against Soundwave and Optimus coming to Megatron's defense, physically and verbally, does actually soften Megatron up a bit. Megatron apologizes for the way he spoke to Prime earlier in this episode. Things you don't see before. And it is enough for Prime to take those restraining bolts off of the cassette bots and give them a chance to actually just act right. Go off. I don't know how rogue Decepticons are fueling up on Energon when they're, rogue and on the run, but apparently they are somehow. But it's a nice amicable conclusion between the two. It definitely sets up a point of tension between Megatron and Optimus Prime that they can play up later, and it could potentially be foreshadowing for Megatron's potential return to the Decepticon cause. We have yet to see. Right now, I feel like his friendship with Dorothy might be like the one linchpin that keeps him a good guy. If that goes sour or something happens to her, oh boy. But for now, it's nice to see that it's not all peachy between Optimus and Megatron. It's not a perfect bromance going on here. There's problems. There are problems that we have, 16 more episodes in the season to actually address. So we'll find out how this plays out, if Megatron stays on the up and up or not. Ending of the episode, Ravage and Laserbeak and Frenzy opt for freedom, and then Ravage returns to Soundwave in secret because that was the plan all along. The plan was to separate them out and make it seem like Ravage was off on his own, when the reality is he snuck back into Soundwave so they could infiltrate Ghost and do reconnaissance. So now, Ravage is running around Ghost, getting all the information he can. And that leads us to... Before we get to that, we're going to talk about two things with Ghost here. Well, number one, this is where they really heavily mention that Bumblebee cannot be seen by Ghost. And it still makes me super curious as to why. Why is it so secret that... why would it be so, destructive to the alliance with Ghost if they knew Bumblebee was alive? Now, I'm super curious about how that came to be. But then there's the last shot of the episode, which everyone started talking about, because we got our Starscream for the series. I'm not sure how I feel about the beard. That's a little bit weird for a Starscream. You know what is not weird and what is very welcome is hearing a laugh from Steve Bloom coming out of this Starscream's lips. It is nice to hear him back again. Like, of all the people who have tried to take over Starscream, I love Bloom's approach. He's not trying to be Chris Latta. He's doing his own thing, bringing a very characterful version of RC to Prime to RID 2015. Really looking forward to seeing a brand new take on Starscream, especially one who seems potentially a lot more sinister than ones have been in the past. Oh, these are good setups. There's a lot of good setups in this episode, from rogue Decepticons on the run, Ravage running around Ghost, Starscream is now in play, Megatron's tension with Prime. There is so much in this episode that they can build off of. This is by far the most important one so far. And yeah, it's fantastically balanced between the two storylines. So, that is my recap of episodes 7 and 8. Didn't mean to go this long, but these are two episodes that had a lot to talk about. Second episode more than the first. Guys, the show gets better as it goes. Like, we get this, like, plot, we get this world building episode, and then we get, like, major Transformer action for episode 8. And guess what? 9 and 10 is kind of like mid-season finale levels. It's going to get crazy. So that's going to be the next one to talk about, and then we're done until the next part of the season drops. So, thank you guys for watching. If you're not watching Earthspark, please give it a shot. This is seriously, like, I want to say the best since Transformers Prime, and I might even be willing to say more about that, more even further back than that, if it keeps going the way it's going. So, please go, watch, enjoy, and I will see you next time. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.